about my section. Too much flex. Y'all know what it is. It is Tuesday night, and I want to welcome y'all Welcome into the podcast. My name is Jamal. My co-host will be here shortly. He is traveling tonight, doing the work of the people, I guess. No, I guess. I don't know what he's doing, but he's traveling, and he'll be on here shortly. So I need you guys to go ahead and hit that like button while he's in here right now. So we can get this thing here start. Got a lot that I want to talk about today. A lot of different subjects we're going to talk about, and but this one subject I wanted to kind of get into real fast is a question that everybody probably need to ask themselves: is Dollar General robbing you? DG. You can't drive 5 miles in a city and not see 2 or 3 of them all out in the rural areas of America. Dollar General, DG. And the question is Dollar General robbing you? All right, and that's part of a video that I will encourage you guys to go on YouTube and seek out. Right, we're gonna talk a little bit about that, and I'm gonna first say that let me pull up some notes here real fast. I'll get into this, and I wanted to get into this. Well, y'all know if you've been over here for a minute, I do have the town involved in a lawsuit right now from old Tiny Tim about that $150,000 lawsuit. So I'm going to take time to do this right now before the mayor gets on. Now, the thing about this story is that, all right, per the Constitution, per law, per whatever you want to per it to, you have the freedom to comment on a story that is in the public domain. Okay, that's just how it goes. So I'm saying all that to say that Dollar General, pump your damn brakes. Okay, that's why I'm saying all this to you, all my fine people at the Dollars Generals. Where is my? And you probably sitting there saying, how is Dollar General robbing you? How is Dollar General robbing you? And I was asking the same question, right? But here's the thing. Have you ever noticed that the price on the shelf at the Dollar General is one thing, and then when you get up to the register, it rings up a higher price? Some of you probably sitting there right now saying, yeah, that I noticed that. Well, did you know that right now, or maybe I should ask, do you think that's a mistake, or do you think that's a business model? Do you think that only happens at your Dollar General, or do you think that's something that happens consistently across Dollar Generals all over the country? Here's another question. Have you ever checked your receipt after leaving a Dollar General? Because keep it real, these are not major purchases. So you're not, you know what I mean? You tend to sometimes just, I know this for a fact because, and maybe that's why it's set up like that. Dollar General has a trash can right there where it kind of encourages people. They don't do it saying, they don't say, hey, don't get your receipt. But most people just, leave their receipt there. hanging down on that line of receipts, and somebody will grab all of the receipts sometimes and get the little coupons off of it, the little $5 off on the weekend coupon. And I think all of us has had this experience at Dollar General where you don't get a receipt. Some people just, sticklers for that, so especially the older generation. But I know myself, I can be guilty of it. Boom, I do that tap pay and walk out and not even pay attention. Now, after I saw this article, I saw this video, then I started to pay attention, and it wasn't like, oh, no, that don't happen. No, it happens immediately, and we don't get into why. It's happening allegedly. Here's another question. Did you know that Dollar General has been sued in multiple states because the register prices didn't match the shelf price? In some cases, consumers were charged 10%, 20%, even up to 50% more than what was listed. This isn't just in one store. Some investigators found repeat violations in the same locations. Again, this might not seem like a lot of money to you per se, but when you take that number, right, and you start to stretch it out, when you start to stretch that number out, where it is, where you start to stretch that number out, where now you're talking about thousands or hundreds of stores, thousands of customers, throughout the course of the day. If you're taking 50 cents for this one, 10 cents from this one, $1 from that one, a dime for that one, that adds up real fast. And then you take that and you push it across the nation, and now you're talking about a big figure when it comes to Dollar General, and they everywhere. One of the things that you guys see consistent in Dollar General, I know I do, is you go into Dollar General, no matter where, the aisles are packed with product. The aisles are, the store is understaffed. There's probably one person in the entire store, two at the most sometimes. You know what I mean? You may catch three every once in a while, but it's consistently one or two people in these stores, right? And usually you got to go get that person to go and ring you up and check you out. Now, this is not a knock on the people that work at Dollar General, because you guys are just doing what you're doing, trying to make a living, working. And this is not what I'm talking about. Is the system that lends itself to the overpricing, quote unquote, scam that Dollar General is in litigation in several states about. And what I'm talking about is when you go in these stores and you see all these people in there. So I had a conversation with an employee of Dollar General, and if any of you from Dollar General would like to talk, you don't have to come on camera. And if you do want to come on camera, I can distort your face and your voice so that you don't get a backlash from the company. But this employee, we were talking, this person happened to be a manager also too. I was talking to her and I shared this story with her, right? And she got defensive, and I was expecting that, because this is, Dollar General is robbing you. What do you mean? And I know I wasn't talking about her, but then she went on to tell me about how the system was set up, right? How the pricing system is set up, and how, yep, I'm on now. Let's see. Plug this up. But how they get, some information downloaded, and then, they got to go through and change all the prices. Well, that's where the scam happens at, right? It's a system of where they overload these people with product and work, understaff them. And so by the time they get around to the whole store changing prices and all that stuff, it's almost impossible for them to do. And when you get to the register, you know what I mean? Some of them are like, whatever, I'll change the price. Some of them will, No, it was you picked up the wrong thing. And most people, for the most part, now some people are gonna be like, nah, you can keep that. But then a lot of people are gonna be like, man, whatever, just take it out. It ain't but a couple dollars. And again, think about that happening a million times every day. And then you understand the scale of this lawsuit that Dollar General is in. Let me send you the text. I think he's set up wherever he's at. Because I've heard of Dollar Generals being fined by different cities because of the workload that they putting on people, and the way the stores are packed a lot of times it proposes a fire hazard, and a lot of times a safety hazard. When you in and out of these stores. But let me get back to some of what's going on. Let me see here. Mayor hasn't popped in yet. And also, Mr. Chris from Custom LLC, I put the link over in. Matter of fact, I'm gonna put a link here in the chat. So if you over here, just pop on in, man, so we can talk and have this conversation. Extend this conversation that we were having last week about we were talking about guns and how it's impacting the Black community was pretty much the topic. But anyway, back to Dollar General. So that's what they're doing. They overworking them, they packing the places, underemploying them, and they can't keep up enough to change the prices. So by the time you get to the register, you're not paying attention, or in a lot of cases you just don't care because it's a few dollars. But I'm just letting you know as to what's going on. Thing. All right, so here's why the government has gotten involved. State attorney generals say that that this amounts to deceptive trade practices. The situation what I described to you. In some states, Dollar General was fined because they failed multiple inspections in a row. And that's like, the state sends people out to check the gas pumps to make sure that the gas pumps. All right. Gotcha. I'm gonna send you this link right here real fast. I'm gonna put it in your messenger. I thought I did. I did, obviously. No, I did not. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. All right, there we go. All right, sorry about that, sir. But there we go. Yeah, several states have the issue is so widespread in some states that some states have hired full-time inspectors to check Dollar General pricing. And that's like what I was trying to say is like you got state regulation like with gas and different things that they go around and check that the gas prices are giving you exactly what they're saying. It's like state regulated to make sure that you're getting exactly what you're paying for. And with Dollar General's case, you got this happening where states, it's so bad with the pricing that states have come up with their own Dollar General unit, for lack of a better term. All right, the mayor just popped in. I heard him there. Again, I don't feel like I'm going too far on this conversation. I think I can bring him in on this. How you doing there, sir? I might need to turn you up there. How you doing there? You're on mute.
Doing well.
Okay, cool. And maybe I think I'm hearing myself.
You have a double feed.
Yeah, I got you. Check it out. I'm thinking that I'm sounding great, but I'm sounding horrible. All right, give me 1 second here. Again, this is the impact of the ice raids on me. All right, hold on a second. Turn this camera on and this mic.
So all of your technical expertise has been deported. Is that what you're saying?
I think we got a delay. Hold on a second. Let me get the Dollar General lady off of here real fast. All right, you're on mute. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah. Uh-huh. We good now?
Yep. Good to
It
go.
may have been that feed that you had in there that was giving us some problems.
Nah, I had a cheap cord plugged in the wrong
Oh,
place.
okay.
Yeah, it gets to be that technical. But yeah, I was going over this thing with Dollar General, and these lawsuits that they got all over the nation, man. And I was at the point to where I was talking about just now. I was getting to the real world impact of it. And one of the impacts on it is that because Dollar General is primarily located around low income rural areas, if you're on a budget, even a couple dollars extra per trip is gonna take its effect over time. um and so how many people just assume the prices are correct? How many times do you check your receipts when you go to Dollar General? Hold on a second, I lost the mirror there. But yeah, that's where I am with that. How many of you actually check your receipts there at Dollar General when you leave there? I'm sure after this conversation, you'll be checking them. And what I need you to do right now is to just in the comment section and tell me if you've had this experience that I've kind of laid out here at Dollar General with in the town of.
Okay. Am I back?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I think I may have been part of the problem there.
It's all good.
Okay.
We
Here we go.
Yep. All right. So, yeah, and again, I was just wrapping up that Dollar General piece. I'm gonna do a deeper dive on that because it's very interesting. Have you guys had any type of complaints in your town about pricing as far as Dollar General is concerned?
Nothing has been brought to my attention, but that doesn't mean that it's not happening. That's an interesting piece. I know we spoke briefly today about that. Told you a couple of years ago, we had some issues. Well, they had some issues in terms of safety, and so we had to, and that's because they kept bombarding the local stores with all of the supplies, and again understaffed, and they didn't give um, that small staff time to place this thing on the shelves, and so it created a safety safety hazard. And that's, so we addressed that. I think they shut down for a day or two to get that straight, but I haven't heard anything about the pricing.
Yeah, it's an interesting piece. They currently in a lot of litigation, and it's that kind of theft that it was somebody that worked in dispersing. It was one of the sailors that worked in dispersing got arrested on my ship after we went on cruise, and for the entire cruise he had created a pretty much a stick man and was paying them, had a whole deal set up and was funneling money. And on top of that, he was siphoning, just like these people doing, allegedly, a penny, 20 cents off this person's check, 30 cents off this person's check, you know what I mean? And you multiply that times 6,000 people, and that gets to be a nice little healthy figure. But
yeah, that adds up pretty quickly.
Yep. So, aside, how are you today? I'm sorry I brought you in there hot. How you doing today? What you got going on?
Oh man, I am at an undisclosed location. I was sent out on a special mission to go out, as an inspector general to see what's really going on with all of these military operations that appear to have some problems. So no, I'm not really on that kind of a mission, but I wouldn't like to talk about that tonight.
Oh man, listen.
But now I'm traveling and got some work to do for the SC-250, and so I had to come out and taking care of that matter. Now we're back on the ground shortly.
I tell you what, I'm gonna plug the SC-250, and I'm gonna prepare my backdrop for combat. Okay, I'm going.
Yeah, we have to do a little deep dive into military operations, and because, well, this thing is kind of near and dear to my heart, and when we're doing things that are when leaders make decisions that has an impact, especially deadly impact on folks' lives, it calls for some review from old veterans like myself, those that are on active duty. And I'm sure you've seen all of the chatter across the social media about, what happened with the young lady, young soldier, as part of a National Guard mission in DC, and you take it to the Caribbean, out there in the waterways at international waters. We know what happened out there, what's going on. So,
well, we're gonna break that down because listen, I'm focused on Georgetown County, but I'm getting calls from folks like, hey, I had to turn on the national. I keep an eye on the national all the time, and so.
That's right.
But yeah, again, I'll play devil's advocate here, so we can, because this is very important, man. And so again, I'm gonna plug these two things here real fast, and then we'll be back on the other side, and I'll be ready for combat. Let's see what we got here. I thought I loaded this stuff up. I know I loaded this stuff up. Where is it? Oh, there it is right there.
If you have yet to sign up for the Georgetown 250 committee, please go see Mr. Ken. And if you are not from Georgetown County, I charge you to go back to your county and find out when and where you can be a part of for your county's 250. All 46 counties in the state of South Carolina has a committee, and it's our duty to preserve our history. South Carolina has a whole lot of history that have yet been told, and it's our duty to do so. So please, guys, please, like my babies always say, mommy, please get involved. Please get involved as much as you can. And Mr. Ken is right there at the registration table. Give him your name. Get signed up to be a part of the Georgetown 250. Google SC250. Put in your email. Get the newsletter sent out to you every month. Get the newsletter. Guys, I'm telling you, there's a lot of history here in South Carolina. I do believe South Carolina holds the title of the most battles in American Revolution, and our story has still yet been told fully. Get involved, please, ma'ams. Please, sirs, get involved. Our baby's future depend on it.
All right. Let me get my boy Pistol Pete up here.
You said pistol or whiskey?
Pistol Pete. I mean, Pistol Whiskey Pete. He is some of everything. Hold on a second. Let me get him up here. There you go, Pistol Pete right there.
Well, I shouldn't say that. That should be a little bit more.
Well, all right. So let me unpack a little bit of what we're talking about. All right, and we're talking about this gentleman right here and some decisions that he made. This is for those of you who don't know, this is Pete Hegseth. And Pete Hegseth is the Attorney General.
No.
I'm sorry. He is the what is his official title? Secretary of Defense. I'm sorry. I was just looking at something with Pam Bondi on it, but he's a Secretary of Defense. And you got to understand that he was not he wasn't like the first choice. Well, he was the first choice, but he wasn't a popular choice. Let me say that. He wasn't a popular choice from the beginning. I'm gonna give you his bio here here we go in a second. All right, let's see here, because I had to craft the argument for him. To try to add to this thing here. All right, here we go. All right, so we're talking Pete Hegseth. He's the current Secretary of Defense. He's a former TV personality and an Army veteran. I guess you could call it that. And I shouldn't say that because he's an Army veteran. Okay. His tenure has already been controversial due to the press restrictions and past allegations and personal and financial. All right, so here's what happened. Here's the core of the allegations. New reports claim that Hegseth ordered a second strike on a suspect smuggling boat in the Caribbean. On a drone feed, 2 survivors were seen after the initial strike. Allegations Hegseth allegedly said words to the effect of "kill everybody," meaning no survivors. The survivors were allegedly targeted and killed in the second strike. Why it matters, legal concerns. Just like you said earlier, this is a matter of international law forbids targeting shipwreck survivors. They're considered hors de combat, which is HORSDE not combatants is what it translates to.
Yeah, non-combatants.
There you go. If proven true, this could be labeled extrajudicial killing, a war crime, abuse of power. Legal experts are split on whether drug trafficking qualifies as a combatant threat. Hegseth's, but that's what the situation is. Okay, and what Hegseth is saying that he denies that he denies ever making an unlawful order. He calls these reports fabricated and inflammatory. He claims the strikes were legally approved by military lawyers. He also says that the mission is part of a broader effort against narco-terrorism. And he also uses fog of war language, claiming unclear visuals at the time of the decision. So what would be your initial response to what you heard there?
Well, let's back up a minute. You said something earlier in terms of local politics that we typically talk about. and now this issue we're talking about tonight is national. I would argue that this is a part of the local because we have South Carolina, Georgetown County, and probably someone from Andrews. Troops are involved in this, in all of these missions right now. With respect, not with this one you're talking about particularly, but we have troops in National Guard deployed around the country in places for missions not necessarily clear. So I would argue that it is a local concern as well. And I also think it's to help with those who are not familiar with the topic or the folks we're talking about. You got to, I think, to put things into context with respect to Secretary Hegseth. He is, and I don't think you didn't cover enough of his. Again, you said he was probably not the popular selection for this job. He certainly wasn't, because what we're talking about is a position, Secretary of Defense, and I think they've since changed that to Secretary of War. But I'll stay with Secretary of Defense right now. But Secretary of Defense, which is the position that this guy is holding, is responsible for almost 3 million people. 3 million as a part of the Department of Defense. 3 million people. That's military and civilians. So up at the Pentagon, he is the guy in the Pentagon. Okay. And of course, you have your service secretaries and all these other guys that are in there, and a whole bunch of other stuff that almost over 25,000 people that's in the Pentagon. He is the number one guy. So let's put things into context. It's a civilian position. Not necessarily requires that position to be a former military person, but I will tell you, it really helps when you have, because you're talking about the vast majority of what this person will be deciding on is that impacts globally, and it involves our soldiers, sailors, Marine, airmen, and the Space Force. So we got all of these folks involved, and Coast Guard. So it's a big deal. So to have someone up there, again, his background, he was a weekend host of some sort on Fox News on the weekend, so part-time. His time in the military was National Guard. Not a knock on the National Guard, because we're all a part of it. I mean, this is huge because they deploy as well. But when we're talking about experience for this position, you have to really look at this thing. So I think he either left the service, I don't know what the condition, I don't know whether it's honorable or dishonorable, but I think he may have been a captain. I'm not sure, major. I'm a retired colonel, and I don't feel that I wouldn't qualified to do that kind of a job. So you got to look at this thing and the decisions that come out of here. And when you understand that context about the importance of this position and the experience required, this guy replaced the guy. His predecessor was General Lloyd Austin, a 4-star general, commanded, across. I mean, he was the expert across the Middle East. He commanded from the company all the way up to the 4-star level. He interacted with all of these countries' leaders in the Middle East. He was an operational general. I say operation. He was the guy when we went into Iraq in 2003. He was the 1-star that was responsible for operations. That was part of the 3rd Infantry Division. He came out of that job, went and became a division commander up in New York. And it'll come to me in a second here, the unit. Went on to command a corps at Fort Bragg, 18th Airborne Corps, 10th Mountain Division up in New York. And from the Corps Command, that's when he took over down in Florida with responsibility of all of the Middle East. And then became the Secretary of Defense once he retired. So that's kind of putting it briefly, the experience level. And then you look at General Milley and all that came before him and all those guys. And then here we go now with this guy who didn't retire. Probably got about an average of 3 years when you start adding up all of his weekend duties.
All right, so hold on. You start to cut into my defense of Pete Hegseth.
Okay, so you have to because these are life or death situations that a person like him.
All right, and so in the defense of Pete,
Uh-huh.
right? Pete, somebody would say, "Hey, all right, let's start here." Golly, all right. Real-time strikes, real-time strike decisions are often rely on imperfect intelligence.
Yeah, nothing is 100%.
Okay, so in the case of maybe he thought them guys was getting into a boat. They had a boat tucked down in the underwater, sub or something. Yeah, I mean,
so let me tell you how. So my last job, I was the chief of operations, a future ops for Third Army. So we were forward deployed in Kuwait. So my job as a FUOPS guy, future operations, I was part of the long-term planning and current operations. So as a part of any fire missions, you're talking about indirect fire, whether it's coming from artillery or coming from the air, a drone, it is extensive coordination and approval all the way up. And so it's something like this has to go all the way up to him and the White House. I'm talking normal operations under a named war, like in Operation Desert Storm or Operation Iraqi Freedom. And so this has to be vetted before you fire these weapon systems, especially these type of weapon systems that was used in this case. There's extensive planning and verification and you have eyes on the target. So somebody's watching this target.
But they drug dealers.
It doesn't matter. They still have due process. And you got to keep in mind
that's the other thing. We're not at war.
We're not at war. So now it's even more important that you verify what you're doing. And you know that now that this is not a fishing boat versus a drug trafficking boat. I don't know. I haven't seen, but I'm telling you the process is very, and this is so deep. So now you got to understand, and this operation has been going on since September the 2nd. So I think there's a total count of 80 people have been killed. I don't know how many strikes. And you see the size of this speedboat.
Because now drug cartels operate like paramilitary organizations. And there's not just criminals with the boats, there's it's a vast network of
bad people, bad people doing bad things.
Yes.
Hurting a lot of people. It does not excuse the process that we as the United States military.
This ain't happening in America now. And I mean
that's even more important. Now you're talking about international waters. So there's international law and rules of engagement, and all of those things have to happen as well. So in other words, we don't own that.
Well, I mean, this goes right along with, it seems to be in line with us provoking a war with Venezuela or provoking, a regime change in Venezuela, because that's where those boats are allegedly from, right?
That's the word, but and it probably is. That's probably one thing that is certain. However, we don't have the. It's not okay to go bomb something that we suspect. And again, you listen at the questions that are coming from Congress. So now something
of Congress, it's partisan. It's a partisan. You know what I mean? Because
it's bipartisan.
Okay, you got a couple rhinos or whatever. We got problems. We got problems over here on the right now. Anyway, we ain't talking about that.
But I know that's what we want to avoid, that piece.
These are drug dealers that we are talking about. We have a fentanyl crisis here in the United States, and I mean,
I'll put it to you like this: he could be one of the terrorists, but if he surrenders, we have to take him in and not kill him. That's the way that's how the rules of war and those things that apply. You cannot just, if you're engaged in combat, even engaged in combat, if you clearly see that this unit or this person has dropped their arms and hands up or whatever the case may be, they're signaling that we no longer want to, fight. You have to take them in. You have to arrest them. And then you go through this whole process. And the rules, again, the rules when you're war condition, and it's a little bit different. But again, there are rules and a process before we start to bombing and then making fun of it. Even if let's say all except one of those boats were drug trafficking boats. Even that one constitute a problem for us if we didn't verify it. Because you had civilians out there. Again, you're in international waters that these people can go and come when they, whomever it is that have access. So you just can't arbitrarily without verifying through the intelligence. And you're right.
Well, I think what's in question is the second strike. I think the first strike was clean.
Well, I think that's now. I think when they start to investigate this thing, you will probably see that if there was 80 targets, and again, you're talking about a speedboat that was hit twice, and I can't remember what the system was, but I think and I don't know whether it was launched from a fixed-wing aircraft or from a drone. I'm not sure, or from one of the ships. I don't know what was the delivery method, but and I had it up somewhere. But you're talking about a precision weapon. Not a laser guided, not none of that. This is a high tech. You put in the coordinates, it's watch, it goes there. And so then when it hit, in this case you're talking about, and what's being talked about across the country here, is that let's say it was a legal operation, and you fired and you disabled that aircraft and it's torn to pieces. Now, allegedly, these two guys out here, it could be one, that are hanging on to parts of this thing for dear life. You now have to go and rescue them, as opposed to ordering another strike to kill them all. That's where the war crime comes in for this particular case. And how many more as you look at this thing? Now, you got to remember, too, that everything these high-tech pilots and this operation, it's all recorded. So it won't be a secret once they start to drill down on this thing. But now this public opinion or public conversation that's going on about this particular strike has some issues. And what is being said now is that there were 2 survivors from the first strike. And at that point, there's no self-defense required, because again, you don't have service members right there in a gunfight. You're talking about a delivery from air. So what is the threat? What is the self-defense?
So
zero.
So who eats this? Who signs off? Is it Hegseth personally, or the military legal?
There is an approval process before this system is launched, and you said it earlier. There's lawyers and everybody involved, because you have to look at the international piece. You got to do this thing, and oh, by the way, that country that you find that is closer to it, everybody need to be aware of this thing, unless they are a part of unless this is war against Venezuela or whatever. That's not the case. So,
we're going to get that all.
So there are a lot of people along this chain that knows what happened. Ultimately, once it's done, everybody says it's good to go, because all the checks in place. We're legally sound. We have the weapon. We have the targets identified as clearly. That's a drug boat, and we're going to fire. Now, whether all that happened, I don't know. So then you're talking from the president on down to the trigger puller.
So what did it take? So pretty much, and I'm asking your opinion here, because obviously you don't think Hegseth is qualified. Why do you think Hegseth was put in place, if you care to speculate?
Well, because he's willing, just like most of the folks that are in this cabinet, he is willing to do exactly what he's asked, and without verifying, without questioning authority, or without saying, "Hey, look, is this the right thing to do?" I mean, you have seen him on other cases when we conducted the operation in Iran here a few months ago to take out their nuclear capability. That was you're talking about now. this wasn't a high risk mission. It's very easy to hit a boat with a guided system and take it out. We're talking about now deploying major assets from CONUS, the continental United States, to OCONUS, or to the target, which was in this case was in Iran. And so which required, typically we will have a forward operating base where we'll go and pre-position and then take off from there. Apparently we didn't either ask for that or ignored it. So what we did, we flew from the United States to the target, which required in-flight fueling. And now you're talking about an extremely high risk operation. You're talking at night, aircrafts having to line up with a fuel extended system to connect the fuel up. So you think about all that over water and over this long distance. I don't know how long the flight made it. I don't know if it was 18 hours. I don't know what it was. I know it takes for commercial. We could fly from Washington, D.C. to Kuwait in 14 hours on a commercial flight. So I assume now you're going a little bit further, doing all these operations, probably about an 18, 24-hour operation. So all of that. So now, and then as this is ongoing before these weapon delivery system got there, this same guy was texting or tweeting whatever the operational stuff to people that's not even inside of the government. Like at some frat party and we just, and he's still there. This is now you're talking about putting, multi-million-dollar weapon system and personnel at risk because now you just have a operational security breach and a strategic security breach.
So, all right, this brings up this question.
Look at the pattern of what this guy, again, let's reflect back to his experience. Let's reflect back to this entire, the mindset of these folks. And it's really mind-boggling. Look at the number of general officers that are leaving the military right now.
All right, so then then let me ask you this question, because we're having this conversation right now. How much transparency do Americans deserve when lethal force is used outside of declared war zones? Because,
well, as much as probably, go ahead.
Because I think they're going to hide behind that. It's a matter of national security. We shut it down.
Well, and again, in put myself back on boots on the ground, you would want an operation to be, maintain the operation security, as long as possible.
Meaning that the public's access would be very limited.
Yes, yes. However, there's portion of that because now you still have, if it was known that we were in a conflict, a war, then everybody knows something is happening. Now, the details of every operation, they won't know. And that's not expected to know every operation because there's operation going on across the battlefield. So they won't know that, but they will know. And that's why this thing should have gone through Congress. That's what I believe. I don't know. And then these elected officials could communicate with the citizens to the degree and let them know that, yes, we're in conflict now with Venezuela or whomever the country is. And there will be some level of military operation. It could be special ops. It could be whatever the case may be. But we're going to have to do something to change what is happening, whatever that is. That's what they will know. That's the transparency level, I think. But down to the operational part of that thing and when things are happening, that's not for anybody other than those operators to know.
I think it was basically kicking the door, waving the fofo, Biggie Smalls. That was a signal down there to the folks down in Venezuela. The big boy, the gangsters is in the house, and we ain't worried about no Hague, no world court, nobody. We are the court. I don't have it ready right here now, but there are politicians, high-ranking politicians that's openly talking about going down there to get that oil from Venezuela. Everybody know Venezuela sits on one of the largest oil reserves, if not the largest oil reserve in the world. And also they are aligned with Hamas. I don't know how that came up, but that came up too. obviously, if you align with Hamas, you get ready to get invaded by America. You know what I mean? So,
but and then think about that. Who approaches a situation like that and going like we're going to muscle? You the words you use like gangster,
Gangsters.
that is not who we are as Americans. Not a cop. Yeah, I'm with you. That's what we're demonstrating right now.
I say, on your side of things, that's not who you guys are. You guys are officers and gentlemen. The gangsters got on those suits. The gangsters stay up there at 1600
Pennsylvania Avenue.
Pennsylvania Avenue. That's where the real gangsters who can sit back and send kids, boys, children to war, to go to places to fight and die on foreign lands for things they know nothing about, for this idea of America.
And we signed up for that to do these dangerous things. However, we expect, that's from the youngest private all the way up to the most senior general or admiral, we expect that those people in those uniforms that you described, that on 1600 and down in the Pentagon, that they will do their due diligence to resolve whatever the issue is through diplomatic means before we put boots on the ground.
So you said earlier that a lot of senior officials walking away. I'm sure there's some people that you know. Can you care to kind of elaborate a little bit more on how that's affecting what's happening downstream?
Oh, the morale is completely broken across the force. For example, this case we were talking about, the admiral who I can't remember his name now. There are two admirals right now in part of this conversation. The first one was given the orders to do that, ordered back in September. He had a conversation with the Secretary of Defense. The box that all the boxes we have to check to make sure that this is done properly doesn't add up. This essentially is an unlawful act that you wanted me to perform, because I have no verification of. Now, if you want me to, give them time to get out there, you're talking about a rare admiral. Four-star admiral. Give me the opportunity to go out here and verify what you think is happening, and then we can do something about it. But just to start to destroy all of these, these fast moving boats out here that may or may not be doing what you think it is without verification is unlawful. And he was threatened to lose his command. And as the inside story is told, he came back in 15 minutes with his resignation. And so now the discussion now is that Admiral, is it Mitch?
I'm looking for him now.
So the admiral now that they're saying he carried out the order.
Admiral Bradley.
Mitch Bradley. And so now they're saying that and again, that's not his decision alone. He has to get permission and approval from Washington, D.C. Now the question is, did he have the same opinion that this was unlawful? This wasn't right. This is a potential war crime, and then went ahead and executed. That's something he's going to have to now explain. I'm told now that he will be going up to Washington now to testify in this matter. Mm. And so what happens? And again, you got to understand, just like in Vietnam, I don't care what war it is, the troops are going to go do what they're told to do. And so whatever the political state is, if you say we're going here, we're going to be in country. We are in uniform. We rely on those folks that are up there to make the right decision. We're going to do this for the right reason. And so then it requires in my opinion, it requires someone who have the experience, who's been out on the ground, who's served, to understand the impact on, again, these almost 3 million folks that are under the Department of Defense. And people got to understand what you may not know, realize we have troops in over 200 countries constantly. You know, we all just enjoyed Thanksgiving dinner at home with our families or whomever we chose to. There were troops, service member out there in the front line during that time and still out there right now. So when we have the privilege or placed in positions like this to make these decisions that are going to impact their lives, we need to have the right people at the right, doing it for the right reason. And it does not appear that that's what's happening right now. And you look at incident after incident. There's been two, again, I mentioned when there's been two breach.
The moment when U.S.
Now pull up the type weapon system that hit this boat.
Okay, let me turn the sound off of this right here while we play this background. All right, go ahead.
And you can see the target. I mean, you can see even the track and the crosshairs. So now at this point, that vessel is rendered, even if it had weapon systems on it, which I didn't see any on it, it is now disabled. So to fire upon it again without going out to now try to collect the evidence, the people involved to say, okay, we're going to prosecute these people, run this thing down. Who else is connected to it? Is it really coming from Venezuela? Is it coming somewhere else? You lose all that when you completely annihilate this threat, this alleged threat. You have nothing now to go back with any battle damage assessment to say we collected this information to now see if this is a bigger problem, or is this these small time dealers, or is it just fishermen? You don't know.
These are dealers here, and I'm gonna tell you
how do we know that?
Let me tell you how jacked up
how do we know that?
Let me tell you how jacked up I am. Right, you see this picture on the screen?
Mm-hmm.
The first thing I noticed was that body gimbal that man had with the camera on.
Because that's what you do. You forgot about everything else. You want to figure out how you get that camera.
I was like, man, that's a nice body gimbal. That international event going on. I'm checking out gear. Golly. But man, yeah, it's that's on Maduro right there, guys. For those of you who don't know, Maduro is the president of Venezuela, and he's probably, I'm sure he's not sleeping well because again, there's open conversation about removing him. He's sitting on a bunch of oil.
But if you could freeze it there, so think about this now. So this is supposed to be the real bad guy. He probably is. But we just pardoned, the president just pardoned the former president of Honduras who was found guilty by a U.S. court. Well, I don't know if he released him yet, but that's part of the conversation. I don't know whether they released him yet or not. But that at a minimum, he's considering pardoning this guy who was found guilty of trafficking over 500 tons of cocaine into the United States, who was just sentenced 45 years in jail. I think he spent a couple months, and he's either out or that's where they're headed to. You got to, how do we make that make sense? But we're going after a guy in that we have not verified what's in these boats, and we're killing people by the numbers, by the dozens. It just
so here are the here's the U.S. claims. The U.S. argues that some of the boats struck, included on the September 2nd strike, were operated by or connected to alleged drug trafficking networks tied to Venezuelan criminal paramilitary groups. The administration labels the groups narco-terrorists, arguing that drug trafficking is increasingly connected by well-armed organized networks, which in their view could justify military force under a broad interpretation of self-defense. Right?
Yeah.
Under this framing, the boats are treated as typical criminal targets trafficked through standard law enforcement mechanism, but as a part of the transnational, but as a part of a transnational threat, which the administration argues gives the U.S. the right to eliminate, gives the U.S. the right to strike, to eliminate the threat before drugs reach the U.S. territory. Oh man, it's cool when you write the rules, man. I'm gonna write the rules for me.
But I may have missed it because I think I blinked or something. I may have missed where you said that there was verified intelligence, verified that these boats were.
They got the oil. That's the only verification we got down there. Ain't no.
Did we verify that that's what's, or that's what we argued that that's maybe what's going on, and that's where that lies the problem for our country, not just for these guys up here that's in the seats, for our entire country, because the second and third order effect when you're doing these things across, in places, then how does that impact travelers? How does that? I mean, does it make Americans safe?
It makes. There you go. I mean, less drugs on the street. Let's start there. They drug dealers.
If they maybe, but did we verify it?
They got that oil. We know they got that oil. We know that.
Yeah, we would like it. We should go to the table and say, hey, look, let's strike a partnership and we can get oil. And
we're not playing that game. We're not playing that game. I said this earlier. I respect the fact that, as opposed to what we did in Iraq over there, at least let's just say it. Hey, we're going to get the oil. You know what I mean? We going to get that oil. That's it.
Well, there was a credible. I mean, Saddam was doing some real bad stuff. Now, should we have gone in the way we did? We did not verify that there was the chemical, this yellow cake factory we were talking about. The yellow cake factory where with all the stuff. I was personally, my unit, we went through this big mountain looking for this stuff. Nothing to be found.
But the yellow cake. I'm not laughing, but I'm just thinking about the Dave Chappelle skit.
Right.
When they was up there with the yellow cake. I got it.
And if you go back, they had then General Powell, who made that announcement. It's a confirmation.
I remember. I watched it.
And it
wrecked him.
It wasn't. So now, and that created a problem for that administration and their relationship for, I think, until the time that General Powell passed away.
Yeah. It to me, it politically it destroyed them.
Right. Yeah, because we were at that point. We're talking 2003. We were over there for Desert Shield, Desert Storm for obvious reason because of what he was doing to, doing to Kuwait or about to. So there was justification because there's our allies. We fight in support of our allies. Got that. We did that. What happened in 9/11, that came out of Afghanistan, Pakistan, all those places over there. Now, when we learned that we were going now into Iraq, so now we were fighting on two fronts, basically. And so here we are with, I think our 400,000.
It was more of this kind of decision making right here. I can tell you right now, most of the people that signed up for America, Make America Great Again, they ain't signed up for this. This is it was a bait and switch at the you know what I mean. Hey, we all this and that, and now that's why there's a big split in the Republican Party because this is interventionist stuff that these people said that they weren't going to get involved in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. Now you couple that simultaneously, we have National Guard troops in these various cities, and we just lost one in Washington D.C. here a few days ago. Again, more decisions from the same group of elected officials and appointed officials, and you're seeing those are pros and cons on what's going on. But you think about it now. So the same level of you're sending troops. Typically, when we go into a place like this, whether it's, and again, this is new. We're breaking new ground. We're deploying troops in on U.S. soil against U.S. citizens. But put that aside for a second. The conditions you're talking about, urban activity. I don't want to say warfare. Those soldiers need to be trained just like any unit that is going over into Iraq. So how do you operate? So now these kids, I haven't seen the ROE, the rules of engagement, but you're putting these service members in a position where so then part of that is that, okay, we got a lot of violence, a lot of gun activity. So now, how do they defend themselves? What are the rules of engagement? Are they human shields for ICE? So now they're sacrificial lambs for ICE to go in and pull people out that you may or may not have verified that they're illegal, immigrants. So now that's basically. So then, do they go in trained to conduct urban operations? Can they defend themselves? And think about that. Now we're in we're in the United States, in Washington D.C., a few blocks from the White House. So now we have U.S. troops potentially engaged.
But prior to that, now in the defense of whoever made that decision, D.C. wasn't a safe place to be.
But in every place you go, that there's hot spots like that. But are U.S. troops supposed to be doing it by law? No,
that's not the answer. That's not the answer. But what's the other? There's no other. You know what I mean? There's nobody signing up to be police officers.
But there's a lot, and there's a lot of reasons for that too. They're not being treated necessarily as with the same level of respect and dignity, that they deserve and appreciation.
No, I mean, listen. To beat the young black men, that's probably the last thing most of them want to be, unless they got somebody in their family, their pops, uncle, somebody that they look up to, or they had an experience with officer. But that's just not the go-to. Hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? You know what I mean? Fireman, police officer, you know what I mean? That kind of thing. Now, rapper, football player, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So the thing is, we're putting them in an environment that is very similar to the foreign land, where soldiers prepare. They go through the rigorous training. They're equipped properly. They have the right rules of engagement. If this happens, this is how we're going to. But no, you're taking soldiers that do this on the weekend and put them into an environment very similar to that, where that there's gun, there's going to be some gunfire, gun activity. Now, what do? That's not good leadership. That's not what we do. Let's figure something else out. That's why, again, you have law enforcement. Take that money that we'll put in other places and pay these officers. Make this career field attractive.
You talk about some of the billions of dollars going to Ukraine. You talk about some of that money.
Yeah, we got money going all over.
You anti-Semite. You better not be talking about none of that. Let's see. Now you messing up. You talking about America first talk now. Let's do the common sense thing and spend this America. Which I mean,
let's do it right. And it's not going to change overnight. So why rush to failure? Because when we show up in uniform, that doesn't change the game just because we're there in uniform. If bad guys are going to do bad things, they're going to do bad things. So why don't we I had a personal experience with this in Iraq. We your commander did not do a whole lot of preparation to make sure we lost a young soldier in the streets in Iraq. But have we taken a little bit more time to prep, make sure the defense and their operation, they're as secure and protected as much as possible. But we didn't do that. And so everybody along, in that chain, everybody has to be, especially in environments like this. And unfortunately, this young specialist, we've lost her, and the sergeant is fighting for life. And these guys are from an Air National Guard. Air wing. So think about that. So this environment where you put those guys, that's for infantry type, military police type who understand how to operate, and that's their job.
And again, I guess they would
If
argue,
you're going to
hey,
do that, send the right people. If you're going to do that, if you're going to ignore everything else and put U.S. forces against U.S. citizens, let's make sure that those are the right equipped, trained.
But shouldn't the argument would be shouldn't the National Guard be kind of trained for that? Because I think they would be the first go-to if we had something that happened on the ground here. They would be the first go-to as opposed to mobilizing. You know what I mean?
You got to go back to their mission. What are they trained, equipped to do?
What are they trained, equipped to do? That's
not these. I'm saying the International Guard. They're infantry and MP who do this kind of stuff. These are not who they are.
I got you.
Okay.
And what I'm asking you is to explain, because I understand what you're saying, but to the uninitiated folks that's not in the military, it's not like policing. They're not trained as peace officers.
They are trained for. First of all, the National Guard is the governor of that state. That's his force for domestic, for emergency operation kind of things. Now, but they have been over history used to go into combat. But again, before they transition from this, these guys go through extensive training. Like in Andrew's case, that's a field artillery unit. I would often see those guys when I was stationed at Fort Stewart. I'd see those guys come through for their annual training. Jasper Bowman, Lukey Flagler, all these guys who come through, I would see them there. But they're coming out now to hone these skills because, again, they don't do this every day like active duty folks. But again, that's artillery. So if you're going to put someone out here in an urban environment where there's one or two guys, popping rounds, they have to understand or be trained to conduct operations to reduce that threat. I'll put it like that. Or they're just going to become stationary targets, potted plant, sacrificial lambs. That's not what's supposed to be happening. And if we stick with the laws and we don't put U.S. troops on the ground in the United States, we have law enforcement to do that, then that's going to solve that because those police officers are trained to do that. Now, what about going to New York and say, hey, look, can you send down here to D.C. so we can put some more cops on the street or wherever? Then that would make
either
sense.
way, and my thing is either way, the you get the cops from New York, or if you get the National Guard, it's not sustainable. So what is the sustainable?
Right. That's the other piece.
You know what I mean? What is
they may lay low until, because they say it's costing millions to bring these troops up, to house them, to feed them, and all that business. And again, these are guard who have a life, family back home, and they're not active duty who every day do this. So you've disrupted this family and all this other business. So it's a trickle down effect when we do something like this. And if we're going to do that, let's do it where these folks can best protect themselves and accomplish the mission, whatever that may be.
No doubt. All right, so listen, I got I think he's still in there. Gentleman from last week, we was having a conversation about gun violence, and gentleman made a comment that we thought would help overall comment. But if you are in there, Mr. Chris, go ahead and pop in. I'm gonna take a quick break right here, and then we'll come back on the other side. If he's still in there, we'll talk a little bit about that. And so Here we go. German cockroaches, known for their resilience, have invaded the Johnson's household. Let's explore the causes and solutions to this unwelcome infestation. Number 1, entry points. German cockroaches enter homes through tiny cracks and gaps, seal any openings to prevent their infiltration. Number 2, clutter. Cockroaches thrive in clutter. Declutter your living space as it removes hiding spots and disrupts their breeding grounds. Number 3, moisture. Cockroaches are attracted to moisture. Fix leaks promptly. Keep areas dry. Use a dehumidifier to create an inhospitable environment. Solution number 1, hygiene. Maintain a clean living space. Regularly clean countertops, floors, and appliances to eliminate food residue that attracts cockroaches. Solution number 2, traps. Place roach traps near entry points and in infested areas. These traps help control the population and monitor the extent of the infestation. Solution number 3, seal entry points using caulk and weather stripping. This prevents cockroaches from invading your home in the first place. Solution number 4, proper garbage disposal. Dispose of garbage regularly in sealed containers. Cockroaches are attracted to food waste, so proper disposal is crucial in controlling their presence. Addressing the causes and implementing these solutions, the Johnson family successfully tackled their German cockroach infestation, restoring peace and comfort to their home. They say freedom isn't free. And tonight, as we look upon this simple table and remember the ones who paid the price but never came home, this is the missing man table. Each piece tells a story. The small table, for one, symbolizes the isolation of our prisoners of war. The white cloth represents the purity of their service, their willingness to answer the call. The single red rose reminds us of families who still wait year after year, hoping for word of their loved ones' return. The lemon is bitter, just like their fate. The salt, the tears of those left behind. The glass is inverted. The chair left empty because they are not here. But their spirit remains. Their sacrifice endures. Here in Andrews, South Carolina, we're doing something powerful, something historic. We're building a POW MIA monument, one of only a few in the entire state of South Carolina, to honor those who were taken and those who never returned, a place where generations can come to learn, reflect, and remember, a place where their stories live on. But we can't do it alone. We need your help, your donations, your support, your voice to bring this monument to life. Every dollar brings us one step closer to honoring our heroes right here at home. So join us, be a part of history. Donate to the POW Monument of Andrews, South Carolina. For those still missing, for those who never came home, for those we will never forget. All right, boom. We are back. And first of all, I want to welcome Mr. Chris from Chris Custom LLC. Mr. Chris, first of all, thank you for watching the podcast, man, and agreeing to come on and be a part of this conversation. Like I said earlier, we were talking about gun violence, and then we got into some of the legal parts of talking about the guns. And you made a post that I found very interesting and very enlightening, and I wanted you to come on and help us out, help move this conversation forward. So without any further ado, please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do for a living as far as FFL and that kind of thing.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm Chris, actually resident of Georgetown, born and raised. Left when I was 18, joined the Army, retired, came back. My main job is working for DoD. That's why I kind of sat that conversation out.
No doubt.
But we can say I agree with some things. But on the side, I do have a FFL here in Georgetown. It was mainly for laser engraving, but I've expanded. I do transfers and retail sales, so I'm quite familiar. The market has changed a little bit this year, but last year I was doing probably 10 guns a day, and now it's 10 guns a week. But it's picking back up. So I have a lot of experience in FFL. I had to apply for it with ATF, and got to follow the rules. So when
No doubt. And that was the basis of your comment, and that's why I really appreciated your comment. And I went through, for the sake of the conversation, because you're the expert here. First of all, for those that don't know, what does FFL stand for?
Federal Firearms License.
Federal Firearms License.
And that's issued through the ATF, Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms Division. We have one in Charleston. That's who I answer to. My agent, who I converse with, seek guidance with, who audits me, is out of Charleston.
Okay, and so and what I'm going to put on the screen is kind of a breakdown of your the statement that you made, and I want you to kind of walk us through these things, the legal aspect of them, and when it comes to purchases from licensed firearm dealers, requiring background checks.
First off, anybody less than 18 years old is not going to get a firearm.
Okay.
It's just not legal. You have to be 18 years or older.
Legally, they're not going to get a firearm legally.
Legally,
they're going to get a firearm, but they're just not going to get a firearm legally.
Not through a legit FFL.
Okay, all right, here we go.
Now, if a parent wants to gift it to a son or daughter under 18, that's a separate issue. But in the state of South Carolina, you have to be 18 years or older. For a long gun, such as a rifle, AR-15, a Hun rifle, you can be 18 and older. To purchase a pistol, you have to be 21 years or older. And any legit FFL, you're going to fill out 4473, which is the application for a firearm, which ensures that you are legal and there's some kind of audit purpose to track the firearm.
What happens legally if someone lies on the 4473?
You can go to jail for up to 10 years. Generally, they'll tell you, that's never really enforced. But if you commit another crime, they'll tack it on, kind of like UCMJ Article 90. I think it was Article 92, whatever they wanted it to be. They would just tack it on. But yes, it's subject up to 10 years in prison.
And that because that is like the part where you put that it is rarely prosecuted because of explaining to our audience what a stick man purchase is and how prevalent is that?
You mean straw man?
Straw man, yeah.
Straw purchase.
There you go. Straw purchase.
So someone who's not legal to have it will send somebody in who is legal, and they'll do the paperwork and then give it to the person who's prohibited. Generally, you can tell because they're really not that smart. They'll send someone in who has zero clue about guns, and usually you can pick up on it. I've had a couple of those, and I've initiated conversation with them. And as a FFL, I determined, it wasn't for them, and I've denied sale. But yeah, that is strictly illegal to purchase a firearm for a non-prohibited person to own.
and I think we got into the conversation about crossing state lines, which is the I don't know what that is. That reciprocity.
Reciprocity, yes.
Okay.
Reciprocity deals with mostly with the conceal permit. There was agreement with the other states like North Carolina, Georgia. They all agreed you can legally carry with your state permit. But as far as purchasing, for example, I had somebody out of New Jersey come, and he was a state police. He says, "Hey, here's my permit. Sorry for purchasing. You're still going to have to go through a background check. That's only strictly for carrying." And each state is pretty in suit. To get the permit, you have to go through hours of training, show proficiency with your firearm, and then they'll issue it through a state. For example, SLED for South Carolina.
Okay. I appreciate you, bro. I appreciate the information that we get. Mayor, you got any questions so far?
Yeah, just a couple of things. First of all, thanks for joining us tonight. Good to see you.
Yes, sir.
Definitely make sure I stop by your place out there when I get back to town. You say your numbers in terms of sale. What's the cost of the sales going from 10 a day or a week until?
It's
any idea?
Mostly economy. The economy's changed. Usually last year, the environment, voting year, there's always a scare of the Second Amendment. So people panic buy. During COVID, it was skyrocketed. Because they thought, all that. This year is just with economy, with inflation, not many people are buying. As far as selling, the market has totally changed. What you thought was a $2,000 gun is now selling for $1,000. So there's a whole bit of statistics that play into it.
It does there's other means to get guns, because we know they're out. Do you feel the impact of so easily accessible through other means as opposed to coming through a licensed person like yourself? Is that and it may be two different clientele?
Well,
because who want to do it right will come through you potentially.
So I've had, and I've talked to a couple of acquaintances of mine who also do the FFL. We've had a rash of people who have tried to get guns through us in areas of Georgetown and surrounding areas where we've had gun violence, and they thought we were just going to give them to them, and they were prohibited from having it, mostly because of age. Mm-hmm. So we've had to turn them away. My biggest thing is they started a law. Legislation started a law saying, private sales are legal in South Carolina, but they were going to require them to go through an FFL to do that transaction. Well, that never happened. So legal people are getting guns, and then they're given to prohibit private sale or whatever.
They able to do that, and again, man, I appreciate you, because I only through this conversation and digging into this that I understand that there's a gray area right there, because it doesn't require a bill of sale. It doesn't require basically any record keeping. It's kind of on the honor system, the way the law reads.
Right.
So, yeah. But
and I think that's where in terms of us inexperience, because we don't, obviously we're not trained dealers. I think then reading the constitutional law and not, again, not having a lot of the background, I think that's where we miss some of the key points, and I think you pointed out. So we understand, again, through the data that's collected through law enforcement and stuff, when we get these weapons off of these young folks, it's not necessarily registered or came through an FFL. So then there's a market that is out there that is easily accessible to kids, whether they are prohibited from having, and adults prohibited from having them, or whatever. It's just so much out there, and I think then when we my concern, and I think a lot of the law enforcement too, is that then when we have a law that says you can carry freely, conceal or not, and law enforcement can't check you to make sure that you are. It put all of us, I think, at some level of risk that is very uncomfortable. And,
The caveat on that,
mhm,
yes, in March 24, I believe they passed the constitutional carry,
that's
which
right.
I personally don't agree with it. I would never advertise.
Unpack that, Chris. Unpack that.
But what that says, what originally was supposed to state was with training. They never follow through with that.
That's right.
But the way the law reads says a person can constitution openly carry who is legally able to own a gun. So if you're still prohibited from having a gun, you can't carry it openly. And to conceal carry, you still have to have that permit, CWP. So it's not both; it's either or.
And I think that's the part I didn't see. I overlooked whatever the case may be. But I think the thing is that if and I know it clearly states that law enforcement that just can't, even if you decide to constantly wear it, carry it out, you'd have to have a reason to question that person. So then that's where that's where they can blend in with those that are legally carrying and those that should not have it. And there's no way to tell them to tell who is who until an incident occurs.
And I agree with that.
Yeah.
And
And that's what's concerning.
And most people, the general consensus in the environment, most concealed carry people will not advertise they have a gun, even though the law passed. Now we'll keep it concealed. I don't want to be a target,
Bingo. I agree 100%. And I will tell you, I wouldn't.
Coming from a military background, such as just like yourself,
right?
I see someone with a gun, that's going to be my first target.
Yeah, that's our response.
Yeah,
because now you're not necessarily, you may not be a threat, but you're going to get assessed. We're going to check you out. We're definitely going to keep our eyes on you. Mm-hmm. And so now you're legally doing what you're supposed to, but you're drawing unnecessary attention to yourself, and you probably don't want that.
No,
because we get a little edgy sometimes. We're not accustomed to seeing folks just walking around like gun smoke with a gun exposed, but that's the law. And great, Jamal.
Last point, as the mayors, do you have the authority to create local ordinance or where people can and cannot carry, conceal carry? And
no, only in government buildings, or if there's a function like we have our festival, then we can make that area gun, prohibited to guns and that kind of business. Anywhere else like stores and that kind of business, we don't have any. It's the only places we have jurisdiction in terms of our government property, town hall, that kind of business.
I saw where the law is called a preemption law, where you can pretty much make the laws around like you said, your facilities, and then store owners can with the proper signage or whatever say, hey, look, you can't come in here with concealed carry or whatever. But as far as the law of the land, that's that's above your that's above that $600 you're making every month.
Yeah, and I will tell you, it was really, when I saw it the first time, I think I was in Atlanta. I was traveling to Atlanta, and I was in a convenience store, and 2 or 3 people came in, and they weren't police officers, but they were strapped, and I was like, man, it just again, something different. It just made
it's
me
natural instinct. Like if you any kind of man worth his salt, when you walk into an environment, you are assessing. I don't know what you're thinking, but I know what I'm thinking, and I'm like, okay, I don't care if it's church, a baby shower, wherever, because it can go down anywhere. So
there's no place really off limits right now.
But I don't know.
But yeah, so we have to get smart about it. And I think this and I appreciate you again tonight, Chris, for coming on. and I think it's a part of the conversation that's going to continue because we having so many incidents involving weapon systems. We just got to help people get smart about it and understand these are not something you want to play with. I can only imagine you in the field that you're in now and what you've done in the military, how much time you spent with weapon systems.
Okay.
I don't know what was your branch of MOS.
Well, I started out as 11 Bravo, so
There you go, near and dear to my heart. See, so you get a guy like him, we can make him the sec def. I mean, but in all seriousness, we spent a lot of time with weapons. I'm talking breaking it down, fire pin everything out, cleaning it, drilled in your mind that, muzzle awareness, those kind of things that we know that if we don't do that, somebody can get hurt real easy. You can hurt yourself.
Oh, yeah.
And so you think about an 18-year-old who hasn't had any military training, any of that stuff. It's just a nice gift on Christmas or whatever the case may be. And the way our temper now, our response or reaction to conflict, conflict, that may be the first thing we pull out because this guy may be bigger than me. And so now you got a person that has a weapon, and I will never blame the weapon. It's the people behind it.
Exactly. That's
Okay.
like you say, you take no training,
Yeah.
and then you take that Glock and modify it with a switch.
Hey, what did you serve? Because now I'm interested. Now, what did you serve?
Mostly third ID. Yeah.
Rocking them on, baby.
Yep.
What unit down there?
Started with 1st 15th, and then went
Okay.
to 169 or 269.
Yeah.
Armor. I was there. I was at Benning 5 times. So
Oh man,
in my
I was
20 years.
I was at Benning from 86 to 92.
But yeah, we were in Desert Spring after 9/11. So
Okay.
yeah.
So thank you for your service, man. I got a coin for you too. When I come by, I got a coin we just made here. And watch our host. They pulled out his coin
Out of the pocket, baby. Out of the pocket.
We just had it custom made, so I'm gonna bring you a coin down there to your shop.
I appreciate that. Appreciate
Yes,
it.
sir.
Appreciate
your
guys.
service, too, my friend. Yes, sir.
Hey, and listen, man. Chris, I'm gonna be reaching out to you because you need to come on back. You see what I'm saying, man? But guys, make sure you go down and check out my man Chris Custom. All right, Chris, what is a professional laser engraver, bro? I'm sorry, I don't know. I gotta ask. And that I can't even pronounce the next words. You need to break that down for us.
So I have a 30-watt fiber laser. I saw it on a YouTube video. You can check out San Antonio Laser Engraving.
Mhm.
Got interested in it, so I went down to San Antonio and got trained. So it's basically a fiber laser, just like you imagine a laser's coming down and etching into a firearm.
Okay.
So if you want to put your girlfriend or your wife's name on a pistol slide, I can do it for you.
Man, hey, you gonna have some customers coming here. You guys mentioned welcome to Andrews the podcast, please, so I can get me a discount when I go down there. No?
Yeah, y'all go down and see Chris, man. I'm coming down to see you, my friend.
Oh yeah. So Cerakote, another industry, is a ceramic coating. Again, went and got trained for it. This is why I need my FFL because I work on guns. If you follow my page, you'll see a whole bunch of guns, different colors. Basically, what it is the ceramic coating. So whatever your favorite football team is, I can put the logo in there.
Wow.
Man.
You know,
He's gonna get bombarded with a bunch of Cowboys fans.
Hey, extra charge. I'm telling you that right now. 15% more
fans
for Dallas
extra.
Cowboys. They even have to endure that.
So yeah, it's just a ceramic coating. I have a big oven in my shop, and I bake it on, and it just replaces the factory finish.
Man, that's pretty cool.
Like I said, started doing that, and then like I said, I work for DOD. I agree with that name. So I was home anyway, so I just expanded my services to retail and transfers. So we're growing. You know, I started in 2021, and here it is 2025, and I can barely keep up.
Oh man.
No doubt, guys. Well, I need this audience right here to add to that load form right there. Y'all see the number there, 706-326-1763. That's 706-326-1763. My man, Chris, I appreciate you, bro. Add you back to the stage. Hold on, nope, we didn't. That's what I was supposed to be removing there. yeah, but I appreciate you, man. And if you don't mind, I'll pop that logo every once in a while. You know what I mean?
Appreciate
that. Send some of these customers your way. I'll tell them, hey, here's the podcast sent you.
Well,
You know what I mean?
I follow you, so I try to watch you whenever I can get on. So
I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you. Your friend's gonna judge you now.
Hey, like I said,
man.
I'm a local Georgetown born and raised, so
that's what's up, man. Hey, but listen, man, I appreciate you, bro, because this is just needed, man. This is the kind of, you know what I mean, the kind of information that we need to be sharing, passing along, you know what I'm saying? Because yeah, I think if we educate more of these kids earlier, they'll go to the way my sons are. My sons are gun, you'll be meeting my sons, gun nuts. You know what I mean? But they don't, gun range, license, and they don't run the streets or whatever, thank God, and nothing like that. But yeah, man. And so I think if we gear more kids toward that path of learning gun safety and responsibility, I think that's a way we can battle this issue out here also.
Yeah, and I totally agree. Like I said, as a courtesy, when I do a transfer, if they're not familiar with the firearm, I give them a quick lesson. Block instruction. Hey, muzzle goes this way. This is how you operate it in a rough fashion. Don't point it at someone you don't intend to shoot. And
right.
Here are some of the laws that you need to know as a gun owner. That's free of charge because I don't want to be consciously. I don't want to hand a gun to someone who's legal to have it but doesn't know how to use it.
Right. That's right.
I had a gentleman come in, had an injury. It was self-inflicted injury. So there are people who don't know how to use it. And I agree with you. We need to steer our younger people. Hey, if you want to go have fun at the range, go shoot, do it for sport, do it for hunting. There's a safe way to do it.
Absolutely.
So, totally agree.
So, man, hey, listen, I ain't gonna hold you any longer, man. I appreciate you. I'll be reaching back out to you, man, once this conversation swings back around your way, because we're gonna lean on you.
Yeah, now we have an expert that can help us.
Yeah,
walk through some of these things, man. Okay, appreciate you, Chris. Thanks a lot. Now, and I will see you soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, my friend. Have a good night.
No doubt, man.
Yeah, good to meet Chris, man. And and for all of you folks, hey, you heard him. He's got what you need down there. Some specialized service, and he'll spend a little bit of time with you teaching you how to handle those weapon systems. So go down and see Chris and at Chris Customs LLC.
I mean, more than anything,
yeah. Just
because he's a follower of Welcome to Edges Podcast, you need to carry your ass down there and holler at Chris. I'm just gonna keep it 100 with you. You know what I mean?
So, yeah, that's 11 Bravo brother, man. I tell you what, at Fort Benning, oh man. And I saw that 706 number. I'm like, yeah, that's down in Columbus, Georgia.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we've traveled some of the same grounds, and so it's good to see him.
No doubt. All right, so yeah, you up there with the SC250. What you guys got going on this? Y'all giving out some money this weekend?
I'm sure they probably are to the staff, but we've got a few commercials and radio ads and things to put together, and so that's the work we'll be putting in tomorrow, along with some other stuff. So the association and the commission and the association. So I've got some work to do at the municipal association as well. So I'll go by and see those folks tomorrow, 2:50, and I'll be back.
All right. A quick question, because I saw I was doing some research on something else today, mm-hmm. and I'm keen to the name SC250 now, and I saw where they were basically funded some projects. Quick question: what do you know about the gentleman who the veteran hospital in Charleston's named after?
Ralph C. Johnson? Ralph H. Johnson.
Yes.
Like that. Ralph H.
Yeah.
Do I know his background?
Yes.
No, I don't.
Okay. Well, just stay
tuned. You got a bit of history for me?
Stay tuned. That's all I'm telling you. Stay tuned. Wow. That's all I can say.
But I'm sure to have his name on hospital, he had to have done some heroic stuff. So
19 years old.
really,
I'm just, you know what I mean? 19-year-old brother from that area over there.
okay.
And
What period?
Vietnam. Yeah. And so I'm working on something, and I'll have it definitely ready for next Tuesday. I did it last night, but when I listened to it, I'm like, man, I've already kind of figured out my sweet spot, my timing when I need to do voiceover is early in the morning. You know what I mean? Right before that first cup. You know what I mean? Got that, you know what I mean, going on, and yeah. So what's up, Miss Schultz? How are you? Thank you for popping in. Yeah, Chris came in and held it down. But yeah, just look for that, man. I tell you, and I mean, again, like you say, man, given what these boys are serving under now, the regime that they under now, man, let's just pray for our military boys, because you know, they're gonna answer the call. They're not gonna question the order unless it's just, you know, crazy. But
yeah, and that's for the senior leaders would deal with that. You may the troops, you know, troops on the ground or, you know, at the lower level may not hear the noise unless they're following something on social media or these networks. But we would hope that between our military leaders and our civilian senior leaders, that they're having these conversations in a place that is, you know, appropriate, first of all, not on social media, but they can work out these differences before you get down, because it does affect the morale. Yeah, just too many stories to tell, and I won't do that to you. But it's the morale and confidence in the leadership is huge for troops. They have to be able to trust that the folks that are telling them to go do something is for the right reason. They have a chance to get in and get out, and it's the right thing to do. And I know folks from the Vietnam era can talk extensively about that. So if you get a chance to speak with a Vietnam veteran and understanding, you know, from the political down to the ground and how that impact what they were doing out there, and how they were perceived and received.
Ooh, man, that story is
by our country. Now, you know, these men and women went out there and put their lives on the line, and they came back, and it wasn't welcome. No. They were called things that were that does not describe who they are and what they, you know, and they were just following their doing what they're supposed to do, not just following orders, but doing what they're supposed to do for what they thought was the right thing. And so in this case, we do not want history to repeat itself.
No doubt. All right, but Mayor, that's all I got for now, man.
I got to review my material here before I tap out, man. But we'll get together. Appreciate you. We don't know, again, as you said, we don't typically talk about things at this level, but I think this was important to me as a veteran, as a guy who tries to stay closely connected to. Well, I don't have to try. Well, I am just bonded with service members, and so I had to have this conversation.
Oh man, listen, you know I'm always game for the national.
and this is not and again, for those that listen, this is not a partisan opinion. It's not about, because if I don't care what party you're on, if you're involved in something that is not right with troops, then I'm going to have something to say. Whether it goes no further than this podcast, I'm going to say something.
Yeah, it's going to, and this is a political prediction, because I see the way I think I got a good idea with the way the wind is blowing, and I think you're gonna see a move, and it's gonna starting slowly, but it's gonna build that whole right and left model, people are gonna start kind of pushing that to the side a little more as we move forward. I know it's kind of hard to see right now, but moving forward, I think coming out of this, people are starting to become wise to the fact that we're being set against each other.
We mean
as in
we
Americans,
the people. Yes,
we the people are being,
the people.
yeah, we're all these fake titles and these things that don't mean nothing, left, right, and all of these things that we kind of we put on before we even, hey, I'm this, I'm that. I think we're gonna be forced here, because
we
things that's
gotta
happening
get back
politically.
to right, wrong, civil,
Yes.
Respect. We have to get back to that. We're gonna have to bring the thing back to the center.
Yeah.
And this is probably what we have to go through. We all suspect that things were going to get worse before they get better.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping that this is the worst, and that some course correction begins, and the folks, our senior lawmakers, man, get it together up there on Capitol Hill, because that's where the balance. I mean, if we really operate like they're, we're supposed to, we wouldn't have these. We wouldn't. There's no one party that should be just controlling. I mean, not necessarily controlling, but making these kind of decisions. It should be about the people, about what makes sense. I guess is what I'm trying to get to.
No doubt. But other than that, man, I'm out. Be safe up there in the undisclosed location. Again, y'all, you know how to get that coin right there. Visit the
the basket. So I don't want to start a new concept, but the basketball season kicked off. I don't know
how did I forget that, man? And
kicked off tonight.
Yep. And Ben Rao asked me to come out. I knew I wasn't going to make it tonight, but I plan to make it to this Friday's game, and that may be in Johnsonville, because I think they play Johnsonville today at home.
Ben plays basketball.
Bro, Ben hit me in the inbox like, yo, bro, you coming to, and I don't know if he plays. Let me see what he sent me. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, brother Rao. But yeah, I haven't gotten any scores. If anybody is there, I'm supposed to be doing some stuff with Jared covering basically the greater thing, man. And let me stop right now and show some respect real fast. Give me a second here, Mayor. I got to stop this madness I got going on here. I knew we was gonna have a good conversation with my man tonight, so I was kind of geeked about that. And not that I overlooked anything, but shout out to my man AJ Lee. AJ Lee got offered today.
Oh, I haven't been tracking. Where's he?
Who
is a lucky college that's going to get this?
Yes, somebody about to. Some recruiter is about to. He probably won't be recruiting it next year because he about to get a pay raise.
Yeah, if they can land AJ, that's certainly going to be a big.
Yes, because they're gonna say, where'd you get this guy from? Man, he gonna be telling that story, man. Little town down there in Andrews. What have I seen him the whole time? I just didn't say nothing to nobody. But
and that's how they roll too. They keep that little nugget. Okay.
Yeah. And that's Virginia. Hold on
University of Virginia.
Nope, that's not UGA. Wait a second. That's Virginia University of Virginia at Lynchburg.
Man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. AJ Lee has received his first offer, which is always the beginning of something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because he's being talked about in other circles.
You can look for every other school out of that conference to offer.
So that's the Cavaliers, or
no. It's the Vol Dragons. Vol Dragons.
Okay, I'm gonna do some research on that.
Yeah.
So that's odd. That's huge, man. That's big time. Now you got to travel all the way to Virginia, man. Because I think Chris is going up to Michigan, right?
I need somebody in the flight industry. I need one of them passes.
Any word on Davion?
No, I suspect that'll somebody will make a move on him here soon.
What about Riley?
Haven't heard anything on Riley either. Yep. AJ, let's see. Here's the school right here. Let's pull it up here a little bit. Do a little quick research before we get out here on where this young man is going to be. Well, somebody who's asking him to come play football for him next year. He hadn't signed anything, but this is his first offer.
Also, as a reminder of the North-South game on the 13th.
Absolutely.
Next weekend, next Saturday.
Glad you said that because I should have had that.
Hey, did you put that work in that down in Williamsburg County the other day?
No, and it was my fault. After getting pulled over by the cops, I just wanted out of Williamsburg County. I just wanted away from that place. I'm just keeping
it. Looked like you had about 3 or 4 tickets, man. What were you doing?
Two tickets, speeding, and
you don't have to tell. You got to defend yourself here a little bit, no?
Nah, but the officer was cool. Officer Wolf. I thought he was a fan of the podcast. So he had me them damn tickets. You don't watch the damn podcast, obviously, because you know I'm going to talk about you, sir. But nah, he told me just come to court and everything be good.
He said, just show up.
Just show up. I'll be there, homeboy. Trust me. I will be there. Yeah, mainly for my points. I'll pay the fine. I don't just don't take my points. Which I got them all back now. I had to go to. I ended up having to go to one of them classes, one of them driving classes.
Was that? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, which was, oh my goodness, that was a joke.
Did you get your points back?
Yeah, I got my points back. I just had to pay this lady to basically go sit in her class.
Oh man.
Yeah, and it was
like time out or something.
That's all it is. What it made me do is, because I'm always looking for an easy hustle, it made me say I need to start a driving school. I just make you sit in class for a couple hours. You good, man? You know how to drive? Yeah, all right, you good. And somehow that's official. But yeah, this is the University of Lynchburg here.
I think that's out on, let me see, 81, Highway 81, I believe it is. I think I may have traveled those roads when I was up in the War College.
No doubt. But yeah, I'll do a deep dive in. Right now, I'm hungry. I ain't eat anything before I got on here. I need to go.
Man, I stopped by. I think it was Tuesday, whatever, Ruby Tuesday, whatever it is. They got this nice little package deal. I think that's what it was. Yeah. No, Applebee's. Man. Yeah, you got that 2 for $25. You got to stop through this. So they have this cheeseburger. They get me talking about food. And they have this bourbon chicken. I think it's bourbon chicken. Got to go check out Applebee's.
No
I
doubt.
appreciate the time. Let me go ahead and get myself focused for tomorrow. And I'm sure I'll see you probably down the way in a couple of days.
No doubt. I may be in that area you in tomorrow. Matter of fact, I know I will be. It'll be a little later on, but I'll hit you up and
okay.
We'll link up.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good.
All right. You have a good one.
All right, man.
Yep.
If you have yet to sign up for the Georgetown 250 committee, please go see Mr. Ken. And if you are not from Georgetown County, I charge you to go back to your county and find out when and where you can be a part of for your county's 250. All 46 counties in the state of South Carolina has a committee, and it's our duty to preserve our history. South Carolina has a whole lot of history that have yet been told, and it's our duty to do so. So please, guys, please, like my babies always say, mommy, please Get involved. Please get involved as much as you can. And Mr. Ken is right there at the registration table. Give him your name. Get signed up to be a part of the Georgetown 250. Google SC250. Put in your email. Get the newsletter sent out to you every month. Get the newsletter. Guys, I'm telling you, there's a lot of history here in South Carolina. I do believe South Carolina holds the title of the most battles in American Revolution. And our story has still yet been told fully. Get involved, please, ma'ams. Please, sirs, get involved. Our babies' future depend on it.